We continue with our series of selections from the haChaim on Parshas HaShavua. This series is dedicated lirfua Ariel, Rína, Bas, Esther, betושח, לרפואה, שלמה, first episode, תקף ומייד, כן יהי רצון. Before we start our piece for this week, what we're going to do this week, we're going to work through Yaakov's fantastic dream and the deep meaning that the haChaim finds in it, even sometimes by noticing some very, very subtle points. He sees deep meanings, even subtleties, as we'll see in today's piece. But before we get to that, I would like, it's come to my attention that some people didn't get the haChaim from last week. Last week, we did just one long one. It was a Lomdisha piece, where the haChaim shows off his koach as a posek and a lamdan, which he was, and he showed his koach in halacha, but interesting ways, synthesizing it with parshanut. He dealt with the famous yeshivisha hak, the yeshivisha raid on how did Yaakov purchase the bechor from Esav, Tzdav Shel Bolam, Tzdav Shem Boma, all the classical questions that they hak in yeshivas, he dealt with very, very artfully and even threaded through the actual words of the pasuk. It's a slightly longer piece, and that was our piece for last week. And I understand some people didn't get it. So I'm posting over here my email and my phone number, which has text and WhatsApp. You have it now on I'll also put it on the screen. You'll see it in. I'll put it on my screen also. Here it is. Okay, I hope you could see it. Yeah, it's. So, Evan Shasia at gmail.com or 917-612-4778. That number is connected both to text and you can reach out to me and I'll send you that haChaim if you missed it. Very nice Lomdisha haChaim. Okay. Without further ado, to start to deal with Yaakov's amazing dream, with the Sulam and Malach Elokim. So, we're going to do a few haChaims on that in the course of this week. And this is just for starters. Now let's read the psukim. I'm going to accentuate certain things as I read it, so you'll understand what the haChaim feels compelled to deal with. All right? Vayachalom, and he dreamed. V'hinei sulam mutzav artzav rosho mageshav. V'hinei malach elokim olim v'yordim bo. V'hinei Hashem nitzav olav. All right? So I made it very clear that there's this word that you could get by without totally, the v'hinei, and behold, right? And behold, he's dreaming, there's the behold, there's the ladder. And behold, right? I guess the way you would translate it. The angels of Hashem are going up and down, and behold, Hashem is standing. You could get by without the v'hinei totally, or at least mention it just once, and behold, and all this is what is being beholden. Don't behold this, behold that, behold this, behold that. That's the very first subtlety that the haChaim notices. And I have to admit, before I looked at the haChaim, it never occurred to me, that the v'hinei is, recurrent, it's superfluous, and it's will be superfluous to even mention once, let alone that's mentioned by every single aspect of the vision. Right? That's number one. We're combining two haChaims today. Right? But now we go after the very next pasuk. Vayomar Hashem choose Ani Hashem Elkei Avram Avicha, I am the God of Avram, your father, Velkeitza, and the God of Yitzchak. The land that you're lying on, I'm going to give it to you and to your children. What's the obvious question? And I have to admit, to my great shame, I didn't realize this until I learned this haChaim just today. What's the obvious question? I am Hashem, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Yitzchak. The other way around. I am the God of Avram and Yitzchak, your father. Avram is being called Avicha. And also I'm with the God of Yitzchak also. What do you mean? It should say, Anochi Elokei Avram, Velokei Yitzchak Avicha, because Yitzchak was his father, not Avram. Avram was his grandfather. So the term Avicha, your father, is put right after Avram, before Yitzchak. That's got to be, that is a mind-blowing caution. To my great shame, I never noticed it until I just see it now in haChaim. Okay, so let's unpack it as only the haChaim can. So first, the parsha is introduced with Vayachalom, and he dreamt. He went to sleep and he had a dream. Now, anyone who learned the sugya in Gemara, Chazal warn us not to take dreams seriously. Right? Chalom shavi daberun. Right? If I'm quoting it, the pasuk accurately. Right? They tell us even if there's some truth, ein chalom below dvarim betelim. Even if you have a dream that is, contains in it some revelation, genuine, still you have to worry that there might be a little bit of nonsense mixed in, the Ramchal, explains this very nicely in the Derech Hashem, so going on a small tangent, once we're talking about dreams, it explains that, the dreams are, so even if, right, there's a certain amount of divine energy that's interacting with the brain when you're sleeping, and that causes images to form, but the brain also is going to respond to other stimulus, like what you thought about during the day, also, has an impact on the brain and the images that the brain forms while you're sleeping. It impacts the imagination, and also says the Ramchal, right, that the food you ate for supper, that's it. Don't eat too much spicy food or stuff that sends, in his words, vapor, right? Heat, vapor to the brain. It's going to form images based on that. Eat very bland food that doesn't cause you digestive problems, right? Doesn't, if you don't want to have, dream, you want to have a quiet night, no nightmares or anything like that. So the brain forms the images in response to stimulus. It could be a certain amount of stimulus that comes from this, assuming there was, don't assume that there was, but assuming that there even was some divine energy pouring and that interacted with the brain, the function of imagination, or image to form. The image forms for other factors also, and that's why ein chalom below dvarim betelim. So it says haChaim, very good. In light of that Gemara of what we believe about dreams and how they're not reliable, right? So in light of that, Zak the haChaim, that's what the Torah is going to say. And behold, meaning as in revelation, right? Behold, meaning this was, every aspect of this dream was real. None of it was because of what Yaakov ate for dinner that night or something that he worried about during the day. And it's every aspect. So behold the ladder. So the ladder is genuine. It's not saying, that his imagination conjured up through other stimulus, right? Other stimuli, I should say, right? The ladder, right? The angels up and down, that's Vihine. That's also, don't think it's because of, something that Yaakov worried about. I need my guardian angel to protect me. No. Behold, meaning it is also as a result of the divine energy that, that Rebbe Shem was sending in order to communicate with Yaakov in this dream. And even Vashem Nitzav Allah, Vihine Hashem. So that is what the Vihine is, that none of this was Dvarim Betelim. No aspect of this dream was for naught, that, that part is Lav Dafka, that's because of something that he worried about during the day or something that he ate. No, nothing. This is all, everything's Vihine, and behold, meaning was revelation. This dream was clean. All the aspects of the dream were clean of being anything that his imagination is just stam conjuring up because of other stimuli. Okay, that's as far as the Vehine. But then the haChaim in another piece right after this one, tackles the much more complicated issue. Why is Avram called Avicha and not Yitzchak? Avram and not Yitzchak. See, okay, Avram Avicha, well, okay, Yitzchak. As if Yitzchak and Yaakov are brothers, right? Or as if it was a stranger. What is going on? Right? That is really the hardest part to make sense out of. And says the haChaim like this, an amazing word, right? Yaakov is on the run now. Why? Because he bought out Esau. He bought out the Bechorah, and he felt that package deal. He bought the Bechorah, so he stole the brachas that Yitzchak had originally intended to give to Esau, because it goes together. I mean, as Rashi says in last week's parsha, when Yitzchak hears, Vayeitzei pamayim that Bechorah lokach, Yitzchak reaffirmed the brachas and Gam Baruch Yehu. He bought the Bechorah, he gets the brachas also. Yeah, right. Okay, so Esau feels he's been cheated out of his rightful inheritance. That comes from where? Comes from where? Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu started this family, right? And Avram Avinu got all the blessings and all the bounty, and Yitzchak is the spiritual heir and financial heir of Avram Avinu. Okay, heir and spiritually and and materially. Okay, if that's the case, so Esau and Yaakov got to split it. Esau, now if Esau's the Bechor, he gets double. That's 2/3, 1/3, right? If Yaakov bought, okay, and Yaakov bought him out, okay, so it's 2/3, 1/3. But Esau's getting nothing. Nothing. He is not, and that's why Esau is so ticked off and wants to kill Yaakov. Yaakov has to run away, right? As per the psukim in last week's parsha, Yaakov is on the run from Esau. Esau wants to kill him. Right? He's really upset that he was been cheated out of his inheritance. So this is what the Rebbe Shem is, the statement that he's making, not just to alleviate Yaakov's fears, that maybe Yaakov feels he was out of line, maybe he took something he doesn't deserve. It's not just that, it's to put in the Torah and make this statement to the whole world, Elokei Avram Avicha, you are the only rightful heir of the legacy of Avram Avinu. So even though, technically it went to Yitzchak, and Esau is also a child of Yitzchak, you should know that everything that I gave Avram Avinu, it was always intended just to get to you. It's as if you're Avram Avinu's son. It's like you're his son, Mamish, his only son, because everything I gave Avram Avinu was intended to get to you. So it's Ki'ilu, you're Avram Avinu's son. You're Avram Avinu's sole heir, right? Now happens to be Yitzchak was was in the middle, and Yitzchak Avinu was a great guy, so he's Elokei Yitzchak. But as far as the inheritance, Elokei Avram Avicha, view it as if you're Avram Avinu's sole heir. Right? The fact that it technically went through Yitzchak, that makes no difference. The goal was to get it to you, Yaakov. Right? And that's what it means. Ki be Yitzchak Chazal Darshan, be Yitzchak V'loka. Only Yitzchak is called your child. So be it's in Yitzchak. So Chazal Darshan, be Yitzchak V'lo Kol Yitzchak, in Yitzchak, a part of Yitzchak. Not the whole Yitzchak, meaning only the Yaakov aspect of Yitzchak is called Avram Avinu's child. Be Yitzchak, the Yaakov half of Yitzchak. Right? In Yitzchak and not all Yitzchak. And that's the message in this pasuk. Okay, Avram, it's like you're directly the heir of Avram Avinu. Esau's got nothing and deserves nothing, and now since the way things turned out, that Esau sold out, so including Milslim Afreya, everything that Avram Avinu got was really all intended for Yaakov. That is the message that's being made here, right? To Yaakov himself and to the whole world, because it's going to be inscribed in the Bible. Esau has no claim on anything that has to do with the legacy of Avram Avinu. Nothing. Okay, so I would like to just give a little addition, which bolsters the point of the haChaim HaKadosh, right? And that's a medicine, and I believe in last week's parsha, The pasuk says in Navi Num Elokei Yaakov Asher Parshas Avram, the words of the God of Yaakov who saved Avram. Says the man, you could carve on the pasuk says Yaakov Asher Parshas Yaakov who saved Avram. That when Avram, as a rebellious young child, that was a rebellion against the establishment, right? And Nimrod has him thrown in the fire. So what saved Yaakov from the Avram from the Kivshon Aish? Yaakov. Hashem said even then, right? I'm saving him not in his own merit. His own merit is not enough. He's being saved from the furnace of fire that Nimrod threw him in the zchus that Yaakov will come out of it. Yaakov will come out of it. Right? And there's a lot of other psukim and chazal that indicate that the spitz of Avram Avinu came to full actuality, with Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov is the tachlis of Avram Avinu. So of course you needed Yitzchak in the middle, and it's not time to explain that you go from Chesed to Tiferes, from Chesed to Rachmim through the meat of Gvura in the middle. Yitzchak is most definitely a necessary link in the chain, but Yaakov is the goal. Yaakov is, the goal of what Avraham Avinu was all about. It means Avraham Avinu is all about getting to Yaakov. Right? And that's what okay, Avram Avicha, it's like you are directly a child of Avram Avinu, because everything about Avram Avinu is to get to Yaakov Avinu. It's for Yaakov. It's for Yaakov. And that's so it's as if you're directly the son of Avram Avinu. Right? Yitzchak was necessary also, but don't say because Yitzchak was necessary also, so now Esav has to have a piece of it also. No. It's like Yaakov is directly a child of Avram Avinu because the tachlis of Avram is Yaakov, right? And of course, okay, Yitzchak, goes without Yitzchak, can't get to Yaakov, right? But the ikar is to get from Avram to Yaakov, and Yitzchak is the intermediary to make it happen, a very necessary intermediary. But since the tachlis of Avram is Yaakov, so it's okay, Avram Avicha, well, okay, Yitzchak. Now, I think we've made the point. So the haChaim adds, okay, we still have a problem, don't we? What's the problem? Yishmael. So you say, okay, so it's like Yaakov is directly directly a son of Avraham Avinu, but so is Yitzchak, so is Yishmael rather. So is Yishmael. So isn't Yishmael still a problem? And we spoke about this in a previous session. Yishmael is a big problem because he has koach from Avram Avinu. But he has koach from Avram Avinu, but he's not a Yoresh. It says haChaim, brilliant. And the Rebbe doesn't have to drop me a remez in the pasuk that Yishmael is also not an heir. That's so pashut, because when Avram Avinu is, Hashem endorses, to Avram Avinu, sorry, Menu's, command to get rid of him, right? Right? The child of the maid servant. I'm also going to make him a great nation. Kizarhu, because he's your seed, right? So now says the haChaim, right? Niflamo, read that pasuk in the most literal way through a halachic lens. He is the son of the maidservant. He is your biological. Zarchov here doesn't mean halachic. Because ben ha'ama, if God forbid a man had a child together with his maidservant, his shifcha kananis, it's not his son in halacha. That kid is not a Yerush. That kid does not inherit anything. Right? So it's true, biology, DNA is good for something. It gives a certain schus, to Yishmael, but he's not Avraham Avinu's halachic son, right? He's not his halachic son, and which includes he gets no Yerusha. So Yishmael's already pushed out of the game, black on white. He's called Ben Ha'ama, the son of the maidservant, right? So he's the son of the Shivcha Kananis, right? So he's not halachic zera. He has DNA, and having DNA of Avraham Avinu is also, that it's a kesher, but it's not a halachic kesher. But it was a kesher that Avraham Avinu's, tefillah that he gave for Yishmael that we deeply regret. We, the people, Avinu, we're not judging him, but we deeply, because all of Yishmael's koch comes from Lu Yishmael Yichel Fanecha, that he davened even earlier, let alone how it was kind of reinforced by his reticence to chase him out totally, right? But that is, that's koch, but that's not halachic, not a halachic family connection. So we don't need a pasuk showing that Yishmael's not a Yerush. He's black and white. He's Ben Amma. Okay, this is what we wanted to cover for today of Yaakov's fantastic dream, the things that the haChaim sees and these subtleties. And once again, this series is dedicated for Rafua, Aster, Rína, Ariella, Rína, Bas, Aster, Lrafua, Shlema, Tekef Mia Betושח Israel. Amen. Ken Ye Rotzen.